Hey guys, this is my 2004 Nissan Xterra, and I was asked to do an overview video of all the different modifications that I've done, so we're going to start with the interior. So the first thing that you might notice is the headliner here. This isn't really a modification that I particularly care for a whole lot, but pretty much any old vehicle will have a saggy headliner. And I actually took my headliner out and reupholstered it, and it looked great, but I used the wrong 3M spray adhesive, and then it all fell down the first time I parked in a hot parking lot while I was at work for the day. So this is a spray paint kind of design supposed to mimic camouflage. Not a huge fan of it, but at least I have no worries of it ever falling on my head again. Alright, so looking at my radio here, nothing special. It's just a Pioneer head unit that's got auxiliary input and all that good stuff. I also have a Cobra CB radio. This is a cheap $30 CB radio that I picked up at Walmart. Works fine. Looking down at the floor mats, I've got floor mats by Lund International. They're kind of a big box name brand that manufactures a bunch of stuff, kind of generic, universal fit type stuff that you'll see at AutoZone or Advance Auto. But they also make custom application-specific floor mats, and I managed to find these on Amazon. Not a lot of information was out there on them, especially for the Nissan Xterras, but I'm glad that I got them because they fit the contours perfectly, and they do a great job of catching sand and mud. And I guess I just had too much money at AutoZone one day, and I got LED light bulbs for the dome lights inside. Makes it a little bit brighter. Nothing too crazy, but it just gives it a little fresh look on the interior. Now, one of the bad things about having a tire carrier on the back of your truck is it's hard to see out your rear view mirror and see what's going on behind you. So I do have a monitor that I've mounted up here on the dome lights, and it's got a rear view backup camera. So it is wired in, so anytime the truck's in reverse, that screen will show what's behind me. And when I shift out of reverse, it turns off. You can see on the front of the truck, I've got a tube-style steel off-road bumper. I also have a winch. This is a 9,000 pound Badlands winch from Harbor Freight. And I've got two generic off-road lights. I just picked them up at Walmart one day looking for some accessory to just throw on the front tube of that bumper, give me a little extra lighting. Then I also have the 2-foot tall Fire Stick CB radio antenna with a tunable tip. I recommend getting an SWR meter so you can tune your CB radio and your antenna setup, and that will give you the best range and reception. It's mounted on a heavy-duty spring, and it's on a welded tab on the steel bumper. I've got some rock sliders or step rails by Schrock Works. These were made for the non-body lifted truck, even though I do have the body lift. That gives you a little bit of extra room to get your feet on top of the step rails and actually use it for a step to get into the truck. So on the back of the truck, I have a square tube bumper, and it's got heavy-duty recovery points and a tire carrier. I have a very simple fold-down tire carrier. It has a bolted hinge, and then it has a hitch pin that you remove, and it folds down flat and lays out horizontal behind the truck. Looking underneath the truck, you can see I have a MagnaFlow exhaust. It's a generic MagnaFlow muffler, and I just got custom pipes bent at a local muffler shop here. And I have another video out on the specific setup of how I routed my pipes on this exhaust. Tires are always fun with big trucks like this, so I've got 33 by 10.5 on 15-inch rims. These are the BF Goodrich Mud Terrains TA KM2s. They are on the stock 15 by 7 rims, and they fit great with my 2-inch body lift and 3-inch suspension lift. I've also got manually locking hubs on the front. I have mile markers. I hate them, and I do not recommend them at all. So everybody wants to know about lift kits. Alright, so on the front suspension, I've got upper control arms from 4x4parts.com, automotive customizers as they call them. I also got the Bilstein or Bilstein HD shocks on the front and the rear. And I have stock torsion bars, but I have indexed them up to the point where I've got about a 3-inch lift on the front. I also have low profile bump stops. That doesn't really do a whole lot, but my original bump stops were missing, so I decided to just get some replacements. Having a big lift kit and tires means nothing if you can't hold an alignment to protect your investment, so you got to upgrade the steering system. I have the heavy duty tie rod adjusters. That's the center bar that goes between those two ball joints, and that holds the toe-in angle on your front tire. The stock adjusters are very thin, and I've broken a ton of them, and they're not fun to change on the trail, so I definitely recommend upgrading those if you're going to be doing any amount of off-roading. Aside from the tie rod adjusters, I have a custom modified idler arm. It has some gusseting It has a double sheared tab, so there is a tab on the top and a tab on the bottom. And I have the Grassroots 4x4 center link. So I also have a Total Chaos idler arm brace. I don't think these are still being made by Total Chaos, but you can still get idler arm braces from Cal Mini or from 4x4parts.com. And inside the actual idler arm, I have bronze idler arm bushings from Bandit 4x4. These were great, and it takes up a lot of the steering slop. So looking on the other side, you see, yeah, I still got the matching upper control arm, and I still got the matching tie rod adjuster. And my Pitman arm that's connected to the steering box is also custom gusseted, and it is also double sheared. So there's a tab on the top and a tab on the bottom with a through bolt on that center link. And that has been great for being able to hold an alignment so my tires wear evenly. I also have the 2-inch body lift. So if you're not familiar with what the body lift is, you know, the entire cab of the body is bolted onto the frame rails, and there are 10 mounts, and you can see there's a 2-inch tall puck, the black puck sitting on top of the body mount right there. So you're basically just lifting the body straight upwards, sliding in a spacer, and now the entire body sits 2 inches taller off of the frame. So I've got that installed, and I've also done all of the associated relocations of dropping the radiator down and relocating power steering hoses and things of that nature. So you got to be careful if you want to take on this challenge of installing the body lift. So finishing off the suspension lift in the rear, I have stock leaf springs, but I have the 4x4parts.com adjustable lift shackle. Typically you see an add a leaf pack with the lift shackle in the back, but it's always easier to lift the back end of a solid axle Nissan Xterra when the front end with the independent front suspension is harder to get a good lift height while maintaining alignment and drivability. So I decided to go with a lower lift in the rear so that I would not have a terrible nose down rake, and I would have a little bit more of a leveled stance, and I would still have the flexibility of those stock leaf springs to get the maximum flex. So to make sure that I'm flexing out as much as possible, I have my rear sway bar removed off of the axle, and if you look at the axle, I also have a differential breather hose extension that goes up all the way to the highest point underneath the body, so that'll keep mud, dirt, water, and other debris from getting into my axle oil. I did the same thing on the front differential. So I'm not going to crawl all the way underneath my truck, but my front differential, I also have the front locker, the automatic locker, and that is a great modification for off-road traction. It works wonderfully. I also did the differential drop bushings to lower my front diff by about 3/8 of an inch, which should free up the angles on the CV axles and improve, drivability and durability. That was a huge pain, and I do not recommend the diff drop bushings. Just put the locker gear in and be done. So looking at the overall exterior of the truck, I've had a lot of body damage from off-roading. It's a recreational hazard that you have to deal with. I did about 4 years ago get a complete paint job from Mako, one of their cheap Christmas specials that they had for about $400. It actually turned out great, and it looks pretty good, minus the fact that I've put more body damage on it. So that's one modification that you always have to get used to whenever you are into off-roading. You'll have paint chips, you'll have scratches, you'll have dents and scuffs. It's just the nature of the beast. That's what happens. So that's my Nissan Xterra. Hope that you enjoyed the overview. But if you have any questions about modifications or things that you want to do to your truck that I've done and you want some more information, feel free to comment and let me know what you think.